I want you to think back for a second, right back to that moment. You know the one. You meet someone, maybe on a date, maybe just, I don't know, in a coffee shop, and bam, the rest of the world just sort of fades out. You can't eat, you can't focus, your palms get all sweaty, your heart is doing this weird fluttery thing. Every time your phone buzzes, you're convinced it's them. It feels like actual magic, right? Like some cosmic switch has been flipped.
It absolutely feels like magic. I mean, it's probably the most powerful, all-consuming feeling we can have as humans. But if we, pull back the curtain on that feeling, which is what we're doing today, what's really going on is a little less poetic, but honestly, it's so much more fascinating. It's not magic. It's a very specific, very powerful chemical takeover of your brain.
And if you have walked into any store in the last day or two, you've seen the warning signs.
Oh, yeah.
That red and pink wave is coming for us. We are staring right down the barrel of Valentine's Day.
The annual celebration of hearts, very expensive chocolates, and I think for a lot of people, some pretty high-stakes expectations.
Exactly. And, usually when we start talking about love this time of year, we sort of instinctively look to the artists. We quote poets. We listen to power ballads. We talk about love as this mysterious force that lives in the heart. But for today's deep dive, we're going to ignore the poets. We're going to leave the sonnets on the shelf.
We are. We're taking a hard left turn out of the art gallery and straight into the laboratory.
You've been looking at a stack of really fascinating research. A lot of it comes out of Harvard Medical School. And it all tackles that one huge question. Is love an emotion, or is it a biological event? We've got brain scans, hormonal studies, and some evolutionary biology that, frankly, explains a whole lot about my dating history.
Yours and pretty much everyone else's. And the short answer to your question is, well, it's both. But the biological drivers are so much stronger and so much more in control than we ever want to admit. We like to think our romantic choices are these, free-willed, soulful decisions. But when you look at the neuroscience, you see there's this script running in the background, a script that basically turns us into different people.
So our mission today is to decode that script. We're going to follow the timeline of a relationship from that first, insane spark of attraction all the way to that long-term bond. And I have to say, going through these sources, it really changes how you see the whole honeymoon phase. It feels less like a fairy tale and more like a biological imperative.
It does. It demystifies it a bit. But I don't think that makes it any less special. If anything, understanding the mechanics of why we feel this way is incredibly validating, especially when you realize the high of early love is literally that, a biological high.
Let's start right there, the high. Because the research uses some pretty intense comparisons. It doesn't just say love is like a drug. It says neurochemically it acts exactly like one.
That's right. And that isn't a metaphor. When you put people who are in those early, intense stages of love into an fMRI machine, the parts of their brain that light up, they're the exact same areas that activate when someone uses cocaine or takes an opioid. We're talking about the most primitive part of our reward system.
So this is the dopamine piece, right? We hear about dopamine all the time with social media likes and sugar and...
Exactly. But with love, it's on a whole different level. It's on overdrive. The specific area is called the ventral tegmental area, the VTA. Think of it like the brain's dopamine factory. When you see your crush, or even just think about them, the VTA floods your brain with dopamine. It's sending a signal that says, this is a prize. This is vital for survival. Focus on this. Forget everything else.
Which totally explains the tunnel vision. I've definitely had that, where I literally cannot concentrate on my work. My friends will be telling me about their day, and I'm just sitting there nodding, but really I'm replaying a text message from 3 hours ago. It's not that I'm trying to be rude, it's that my brain has just reprioritized everything.
Precisely. It creates a craving. And that word is key. Craving. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, that feeling of satisfaction. It's about wanting. It's the engine, that euphoria you feel when you're with them, and that ache, that withdrawal when you're apart. That's your reward system screaming at you to get back to the source.
So when we say things like, I'm addicted to you, or I can't get enough of you, we're actually being, medically accurate?
Surprisingly, yes.
Yes.
And just like any addiction, it changes your behavior. You start taking risks you normally wouldn't. You might drive 3 hours in a blizzard just to see them for 20 minutes. You put the drug ahead of things like sleep or food. It's a really ancient biological program designed to make you chase a partner with the same intensity you'd chase food if you were starving.
That's wild, because we think of starving as a bad feeling and love as this purely good one. But the research points out that this early phase isn't all sunshine. It's actually physically stressful.
Yes. This is one of the most overlooked parts of the honeymoon phase. We romanticize it in movies, but biologically, falling in love triggers a fight or flight response.
Wait, hold on. Fight or flight. That's what happens when I'm like about to get into a car accident. Why would my body treat a really good first date like a threat?
Well, think about the stakes from an evolutionary perspective.
Uh,
Finding a mate is a high-risk, high-reward situation. There's so much uncertainty. Do they like me back? Did I just see something incredibly stupid? Will this work out? All that uncertainty triggers a release of cortisol, the main stress hormone, and norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine, that's adrenaline, right?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And that's why your heart starts racing. It's why your palms get sweaty. It's why you suddenly aren't hungry. Your body is literally shifting resources away from things like digestion and toward immediate action. You're in a state of high alert.
So, the butterflies in my stomach. That's really just what? A mild stress-induced nausea?
I really hate to ruin the romance, but
Ugh.
yeah, that's your body redirecting blood flow from your gut to your major muscles so you're ready to fight for the mate or handle the danger of it all.
Wow. That is so uncomfortably clinical. But it makes perfect sense. It totally explains why the beginning of a relationship is so exhausting. You're basically running a marathon while sitting at a dinner table.
You really are. But there's another chemical change in this phase that I found even more mind-blowing. It explains why new lovers can seem a little, well, obsessive.
Oh, I think I know where this is going. This has to be the serotonin thing.
This is fascinating. So dopamine is skyrocketing, but serotonin, that's the neurotransmitter that helps regulate your mood, keeps you calm, helps with impulse control. It actually tanks. It plummets.
How much of a drop are we talking? Like a little dip?
No, it's significant. Some studies have shown that people who are madly in love have serotonin levels that are comparable to people with active obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Whoa, okay, that's a huge claim. So you're saying the brain chemistry of being in love actually looks like the brain chemistry of a clinical disorder?
In this very specific way, yes. Think about the symptoms of low serotonin in OCD, intrusive thoughts. The inability to stop your brain from looping on one particular subject.
And in this case, the subject is the person.
Exactly. You replay conversations over and over. You analyze the punctuation they used in a text. You fixate on their smile or just the way they hold their coffee cup. It feels like you can't get them out of your head because, chemically, you don't have the serotonin breaks to stop that thought loop.
It's like your brain is just completely hijacked. You're trying to think about your grocery list, and your brain just goes, nope, we're thinking about how they looked in that blue shirt again.
And you love it because of the dopamine, but it is compulsive. It is not a choice. And this leads us to probably the most critical part of this whole passionate love cocktail, the part that explains why we make such terrible decisions in this phase.
Ah, the love is blind theory. We've all heard the phrase, but the sources are saying there's actual, anatomical proof for this. It's not just a saying.
There is. This is where those fMRI scans get so revealing. When you look at the brain of someone staring at a picture of their new partner, it's not just about what parts turn on. It's about which parts go dark.
Okay, so what's shutting down? What are we losing access to?
The neural pathways that are associated with social judgment and negative emotions. Specifically, the amygdala and parts of the frontal cortex. They basically deactivate. The very machinery you use to size people up, to spot red flags, to feel skeptical, it just goes offline.
So when your friends say, hey, this person seems kind of selfish, or did you notice they were rude to the waiter? And you honestly, truly cannot see it. You're not just being difficult. You are biologically compromised.
You are largely incapable of processing that criticism. Researchers call it positive illusion. Your brain literally suspends its critical judgment centers to help you bond. It's a feature, not a bug.
How is being blind to red flags a feature? That sounds like a terrible feature.
It can be for the individual, for sure. But for the species, it's great. If we were all hypercritical of everyone we met, if we obsessed over their weird laugh or how they chew their food on a first date, we'd never pair up. Evolution needs us to be a little bit delusional, To get over that initial hurdle of intimacy, we have to project this idea of perfection onto them so we stick around long enough for the bond to form.
That is both terrifying and hilarious. So we're just walking around chemically impaired, hallucinating that this person is perfect, while our friends are just watching in horror.
That's the passionate love phase in a nutshell. High dopamine, high stress and cortisol, low serotonin driving obsession, and your judgment is completely deactivated.
It sounds like a frantic state to be in, which brings up the million-dollar question. And I think this is where it gets really practical. Can that last? Because if I felt that way for 10 years, the no sleeping, the stress, the obsessing, I think I would die.
You absolutely would. And that's a critical point that I think our culture gets so wrong. The human body cannot sustain that level of chemical intensity forever.
Yeah.
It's metabolically expensive. You just can't run on high cortisol and adrenaline for years without completely burning out.
So the spark fading, that isn't necessarily a bad sign. It's not a sign the relationship is doomed, because I think a lot of people panic when the butterflies go away.
It is the #1 cause of anxiety for couples. They hit that 1 year, maybe 2 year mark, it varies, and the chemical storm starts to settle. Their judgment comes back online. They start noticing the wet towel on the floor. They realize their partner isn't a flawless being, but just a person who chews loudly. And they think, oh, I've fallen out of love.
But according to the science, they haven't fallen out of love. They've just shifted gears.
Exactly. They are transitioning from passionate love to what we call companionate love.
Mhm.
And for a relationship to last, this transition has to happen. It's mandatory. You have to trade that dopamine high for a whole different set of chemicals.
Okay, so who are the new players here? If dopamine and cortisol are heading out, who's coming in?
The new stars of the show are oxytocin and vasopressin, and their whole vibe is completely different.
All right, let's do oxytocin first. I've heard of this one, the cuddle hormone. Right?
That's the one. Oxytocin is released during physical contact, hugging, holding hands, being intimate. Its effect is pretty much the opposite of that early stage. Dopamine is all about excitement and craving. Oxytocin is about calm and connection.
So dopamine is, I need you right now. And oxytocin is more like, I have you and I feel safe.
That's a perfect way to put it. Oxytocin actually helps lower your cortisol levels. It reduces stress. It creates that feeling of deep contentment and security you feel when you're just sitting on the couch with a long-term partner, not even talking. That quiet comfort, that isn't boring. That is a chemical victory. It's the glue that holds the bond together after the initial dopamine explosion.
And what about vasopressin? That one sounds a bit more clinical.
Well, it does help regulate blood pressure, so you're not wrong. But in the brain, vasopressin is fascinating. It's closely linked to behaviors like long-term commitment and guarding your territory.
Territory, you mean like get off my lawn?
More like stay away from my partner. There's a famous study they did with prairie voles, which are one of the few mammals that mate for life. And researchers found that vasopressin is the key chemical that drives this. It's what makes the male vole guard the female, stick by her side, and chase off any rivals. It's the commitment chemical.
So we're essentially trading the roller coaster for a steady cruise ship. We lose the big drops, but we also stop feeling constantly seasick.
Yes. And it is a real trade-off. We have
Yeah.
to be honest about that. You do lose those extreme euphoric highs. You lose the thrill of the chase. But you gain stability. You gain a partner who actually lowers your blood pressure instead of raising it.
It just seems like so many of us don't value that trade-off. We get addicted to the dopamine. We break up when the spark dies because we think the love is gone, and really the love just grew up.
We do. Our culture totally idolizes the beginning of the movie. The rom-com always ends right as the dopamine is peaking. We almost never celebrate the oxytocin phase, which is where the real life building happens.
Which brings us to the big why. Why did evolution set us up this way? Why this two-stage system? Why not just start with the calm stuff? Or why not just let us stay high forever?
Well, if you zoom out and look at it from a purely evolutionary biology perspective, it all comes down to the survival of the offspring.
Making babies and then keeping those babies alive.
Blunt, but yeah, true. And human babies have a unique problem. They are born completely helpless. A baby horse can run in a few hours. A human baby can't even hold its own head up. They need years and years of intense care.
So we need a system that makes the parents stick together.
Precisely. That passionate phase, the dopamine, the obsession, the blindness, that's all designed to get two people together fast. It needs to be urgent and intense enough to make us overcome all our barriers and just mate. It's the powerful magnet that pulls two strangers together.
Right, so that gets the genes mixed. Mission 1, complete.
Exactly. But if the parents stayed in that high-stress, obsessive state, they'd be terrible parents. They'd be too busy obsessing over each other to focus on the baby. And they'd be too burned out to actually protect and provide for the family.
So the companionate phase, with the oxytocin and vasopressin, that's designed to create a stable unit for raising children.
That's the theory. The calm is a survival strategy. It creates a stable, secure environment. Evolution doesn't care if you have butterflies for 50 years. It cares that you function well enough as a team to make sure the next generation survives.
Man, it really is unromantic when you put it like that. Congrats on your marriage. It's a great evolutionary strategy for infant survival.
It is, but it also makes so much sense. And knowing this can actually save relationships.
Yeah.
When you understand that the loss of that high isn't a failure, but it's actually a biological promotion to the next stage, it just changes everything. You can stop chasing the ghost of the beginning and start appreciating the security of what you have now.
It's like graduating, you know? You don't want to be a freshman forever. The parties are fun, but eventually you want a career. You want to build something real.
That's a great analogy. The freshman year of love is a blast, but the real work and the real deep satisfaction comes later.
So let's just recap this whole journey. We start with the spark.
The spark. That's driven by dopamine, the reward system. Looks like addiction, feels like euphoria, but it's also super stressful, high cortisol.
And we go blind. Our judgment centers literally shut down so we don't get scared off by our partner's flaws.
Correct. And then biologically, we hit a wall, can't sustain it. So if the relationship is going to work, we have to transition.
And we shift over to oxytocin and vasopressin. The anxiety goes down, the security goes up, and we build this long-term bond that's designed to keep us together.
It really puts a whole new meaning on the word chemistry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We are, in a very real way, just at the mercy of these neurotransmitters.
We are. But we also have our thinking brain. We can observe these patterns. We can understand them, which is what we're doing right now.
And that gives us a little bit of power back. We can choose to nurture that oxytocin bond, through touch, through shared experiences. Instead of just complaining that the dopamine hit is gone, we can learn to appreciate the calm.
That's a great takeaway. It's about valuing the calm just as much as you value the storm.
And recognizing that, biologically speaking, a calm love is a successful love.
Before we wrap this up, I have one last thought that's been bugging me since we talked about the whole love is blind thing.
Go for it.
If we know for a fact, like we have the brain scans to prove it, that our judgment centers shut down when we fall in love, if we know we are biologically compromised, does that mean we should never actually trust our own gut in a new relationship?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it?
Maybe that's the real lesson here. When you're falling really hard and you think you've found this perfect human with zero flaws, maybe that is the exact moment you need to turn to your best friend whose amygdala is working just fine and just ask, am I crazy or is this real?
Yeah.
Because your brain, it might not be on your side. It's just trying to get you to reproduce.
A sobering thought to end on. Trust your heart, but maybe.
Yeah.
Verify with your friends.
Exactly. Thanks for diving in with us today. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.